And then last but not least, just introducing Michael. If you've been around sleep for some time, you probably have heard of Michael. Michael has been in dental sleep medicine or sleep medicine since 2005.
Careful. Three.
Three. All right.
You were gonna make it a little joke.
2003. I was close. And I always get the numbers wrong. So 2003 started off as a classically trained pediatric sleep technician who was doing in-lab studies with infants and adults. Adults because there's not as many infants who need sleep studies. I'm sure you know that in the sleep space, but he's been in sleep for a long time. Got tired of not seeing anyone because sleep techs work at night and people sleep at night. So he slept during the day. So he moved on to building sleep centers, working with physicians, working in home sleep testing technology and CPAP technology, eventually opening up Awaken to Sleep. And we provide coaching for dentists who want to do more sleep treatment in their practice. And so you're here today because you want to talk about how to set goals and actually accomplish them in 2024 for your sleep practice. And Michael, having nearly 20 years of experience in this space, is going to walk you through exactly how to do that. And so if you have any questions, run them down. We're going to be covering a lot of ground today, so we encourage you to take notes. But don't worry if you missed it, because the webinar recording will be up tomorrow for you to review any of the parts that you'd like. So with that, Michael, take it away.
Okay, Regina, you're taking my breath away. You just put in the chat that it's negative, a balmy -20. I was really trying to move on from the whole weather thing. I think you take the cake, Regina. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Put up the emergency distress beacon for your Zoom call. Anyway, Chad, thanks for the intro. And thank you all for being here tonight. I'm excited. Let's get after it. All right. I am, if you have ever hung out with me live in a presentation, I really almost borderline require feedback, or I make it very socially awkward. That's harder to do on Zoom. I'm looking at a little black dot, knowing that is your face, Tony. So anyway, if you can, you've already been gracious and great about answering questions tonight. I'd love to make this this time as much about your goals and what you're willing to share as possible. That requires a two-way conversation. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the goal setting framework that we want to talk about tonight. Yeah, let's just hop in. Okay. First thing is, that's not the first thing. Chad already covered that. First thing is, what is the rocket fuel for your goals? We don't have time to get through your personal why, your corporate why, how to set those things. We do have curriculum and content to sit. We walk our clients through that all the time. But if you haven't set your why, please do. If you don't know how to set it, please reach out. We'll have some links at the end of the talk tonight to do so. Your why is going to be the most important. Share the screen. Hey guys, I'm new. Apparently, I've never done this before. Some of you are laughing and some of you feel sorry for me. I appreciate the ones who feel sorry for me. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Now you can see my screen. I'm so glad Chad was in the other room and could tell me that. All right, can I get a thumbs up from one person? Anybody in the chat? You guys can see my screen moving here. Fake it till you make it. My man. All right. Yes, thank you very much. All right. So if you haven't set your why, please do. If you need help with it, please ask. Happy to do that. This is the absolute motivation behind everything. If you guys have heard me talk in our courses or you've heard me live at different conferences, I frequently share my why. My why is my Anna. She's 15 and going on 25 now, but she was 5 months old many years ago, turning blue in my arms from apnea as an infant. Guys, there's no greater motivation than that. So that is the thing that will keep me up at night when we can't figure out what to do next. It's the thing that will drive me past hurdles and obstacles. When you know what your why is, if you already do, you know that this is the rocket fuel to get you where you want to go. So without further ado, please set it. If you need help, reach out. All right, what we're here for tonight, if you all responded to the webinar because of the emails, is a thing called a BHAG. Now, the first time I ever taught this curriculum, it was at our Pivot Dental Sleep Medicine Masterclass this last September in San Diego. We're going to do another one this coming September. We'll get you emails on that later on. But I taught on BHAGs, and the next presenter was Licia Crawford, who pretended there was a dash in the between the B and the H and acted like I called her something. That is not what that stands for. This is a big, hairy, audacious goal. It is a singular, long-term goal for each purpose that you have. So if you identify your why, our why at Awaken to Sleep is to empower growth-minded dental practices to treat more patients. And we have a medium that we do that through. That is our why. This is what we do. If you understand what your why is and you have your purpose in mind, a BHAG is a singular goal that's giant. It requires multiple years to get to. We're going to go through some sample ones tonight just to get the juices flowing. But this is something that you're going to have to really sit down with, not in the middle of the day-to-day, and really think about where you want to go, because this is your future anchor point that allows you to understand where you're going on the map. And then we can figure out what it takes to get there. So before we keep going, a little bit of encouragement here. Most people struggle with setting these. If you've ever sat down and tried to set a goal, and then you feel like you failed miserably because it was too small, or it wasn't big enough, or it was not how somebody told you, whatever. When you're choosing a BHAG, you got to understand it's one of the highest leverage things that you can do as the business leader. If you skip this, who's going to do it? For those of you practice owners that are on the call, if you skip this part, is your assistant going to set this for you? Is your sleep champion going to set this for you? No one's going to do this work. So this falls into the category of some of the things that only you can do as the business owner, as the visionary, as the leader in the practice. So feel free to sit with it. Know that others have started, stopped, failed, whatever. Progress is what we're looking for here. Walt Disney says, of all the things I've done, the most vital is pointing my team towards a certain goal. Huge, absolutely huge. The team has to have a goal in mind. 3 criteria. If you guys are taking notes or taking screenshots, doesn't matter. 3 criteria for a great BHAG. What's a great goal? Well, 1, you have to have some clear finish line. Like if your BHAG was eliminating world hunger, you'll be at that for a little while. And that's a very audacious goal, and it's very noteworthy. It's worthy of chasing after that. Are you going to achieve that in your lifetime? Probably not. So getting something that is huge and multi-year, but also attainable and has a clear destination, very important. Also, the second thing, it's got to inspire your people. So if it's something you're like, how's your team going to respond? Leaders, business owners, if it's just about dollars, it's not inspiring to your team. So that's another thing. It's got to inspire you. Important. It's also got to inspire the team. Now, revenue goals are crucially important. Profit in a business is like blood to a body. It has to happen in order for that business to have life in its veins. That's a fact. But if the BHAG is only dollars and cents, we're missing a core component of it being inspirational for the team. So we want to make sure that that's there. Also, it's going to be a great filter. So that's the third one here. If you have your destination in mind and you are starting to craft your way backwards from the goal, one step at a time back to here where you're at today, then it's going to help you filter out all of this other noise that comes in and wants to grab your attention. So that's a huge, huge thing. 1, it's got to be big and defined, clear finish line. 2, it's got to get the troops motivated, get the team excited, get them on board to go towards that goal. And the third thing is you've got to allow it to filter out the day-to-day stuff that just keeps getting in the way from where you're trying to go. All right, couple of cool ones. JFK wanted to land a moon. He wanted to land a moon. Wow. Hey, y'all, it's only 5:13 here. I got no excuses. Some of you are on the East Coast. He wanted to land a man on the moon in the 1960s. Big goal. William Wilberforce, abolished the slave trade throughout the British Empire in my lifetime. Did these guys achieve that stuff? Yeah, they saw it come to fruition before they closed their eyes the last time. That's stinking awesome. Walmart, reach $125 billion in sales by the year 2000. This is a perfect example of an awesome business BHAG from corporate leadership that does not translate to the person working in the optometry office in a local Walmart, working as a greeter in a local Walmart. That doesn't speak to them. It's nebulous. So understanding the corporate goals can be something like this, but translating it all the way to the team, it's got to be an inspirational thing. So while this is great on the executive level, it doesn't translate to the rest of the team that's going to need to be there for that to happen. All right, so let's bring it back to our industry instead of talking about like JFK. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all are trying to land a moon. Probably not. So how about some sample BHAGs? I'm guessing most of the people on this call are in one of these three camps. You're either starting off, it's a great idea, you're loving this, you're trying to do it on your own, something. You're trying to get to that consistent 5 cases a month, every month on average. Some of you surpassed that a long time ago, and you're trying to separate sleep from your practice. So you got sleep going in your general office, you've screened your patients, you start to get some referrals. Now you really want it to be its own standalone thing. Maybe that standalone goal is, I want a standalone business that can replace my provider revenue. So get this horse going at the same pace as your practice so you could step out of that and sell this or bring an associate in or something like that. Maybe some of you have already done that, and you all are chasing Stacy and Licia and Dr. Kent Smith doing somewhere between 130 and 300 cases a month. Now, the 300 cases a month, if you're trying to hit 5 a month, is mind-blowing. That feels like ending world hunger, right? So setting your BHAGs that are these big multi-year goals, but something that is a clear line achievable and definable, that's a good balance. That's what we're looking for. All right, so in these BHAGs, actually, I'm going to pause here real quick. I want to ask you guys, you've already responded in the chat. I'm going to ask you to do so here. I know some of the names on here, so I know you've already thought about some of this stuff because you've attended some courses where we've talked about this. What's your BHAG, if you're willing to share? And I will wait for some of you guys to answer. Just give us a nibble, if you will, of it. What are you guys looking at? Okay. Double my cases, Brian. Thanks for throwing that in there. Tony Bear, you're not exempt. Come on, man. I'm waiting. I told you, socially awkward. Staying alive. All right. I have a few cases, opening an airway center, teaching. Okay, love it. All right. See, one thing here. Thank you all for sharing. If you are in the process of typing or finding the keyboard, if you're on your phone, please do that. I will get back there and read those and check them out. Here's the thing. When you do it in a group, you start to realize how unique your BHAG is. If you do it by yourself, you think, oh my gosh, doesn't everybody have this? This is 30 a month. I see Charles, consistent flow of DSM patients. Not everybody said I want to teach. So you start to realize like your goal starts to also make what you're trying to achieve unique, which is amazing. It's also challenging because you're trying to get there, and that can be the hard part. All right. Just starting out, 2 a month. Love the honesty, Jamie. You're in the right spot. Okay. So I'm guessing if y'all have set goals in the past, actually, I'm going to ask everybody to raise their hands here. Let's do that. Can you do me a favor and raise your hand if you've ever set a goal and you didn't achieve it? Okay. Yep. You guys rock. I really appreciate you. I genuinely appreciate you. Yeah. Okay. Just about everybody on here has set a goal and and we haven't achieved it. whether that was taking out the trash before your spouse asked, or launching a DSM only practice. Two little things. Yeah, we've all done it. So wouldn't it be helpful if we knew what was going to be the challenge ahead of us before we started? Like if we set the goal and we start talking about the roadmap going from the goal, not from where we're at, that's key, from the goal and walk it backwards. What if we knew the common pitfalls of those things? That would be super helpful. Let's talk about a few. Well, one, a pitfall is anything that stands in the way of you and your goal, which is why the goal has to be so infinitely crystal clear and aligned with your why. If your business goal is to dominate Tennessee, Tony, you want to dominate the greater Nashville, Tennessee area for DSM, and you want to do it 2 days a week, we have an existential crisis, right? So we want to make sure that our goal, our BHAG, is not just someone else's or what we're told in a course or a curriculum. It really is uniquely yours. And that's what tags back to your why. What are you trying to achieve? What is your purpose here? Why do you want to do this? What is that rocket fuel again? It's going to get you to the place that you're trying to go. So how do we do that? How do we identify these pitfalls? Well, let's talk about a couple of them. One, time. I just mentioned it. If you want to take over your region for DSM and you want to pop up multiple different DSM only locations and have a team of 5 or 6 in each location, and you're going to rock the house, do you have time for that? You probably could, with the right setup, with the right delegation, with the right tools, with the right mindset. Absolutely. I mean, please do not hear me trying to limit you. But we've got to also be realistic with what are some of the big challenges. Time is the absolute number one challenge that we hear from almost every client that we have. Like we told you earlier, we coach practices we only coach dentists and only for the purpose of DSM growth. So this is our lane. This is head and shoulders above anything else. This is the number one issue that most doctors run into is time. They don't have enough time because they're so busy doing general dentistry, or they're so busy running their practice, or they're so busy with fill in the blank. Time is a crucial component. And if your goal is to launch a separate company, for example, like that second BHAG that we talked about earlier, well, you've got to have enough time if you're the only one dedicated to that to start. You've got to dedicate a day a week or 1 to 2 days a week in order to launch that thing. If you can't, then we're going to have to look at a sleep champion that's going to be in the practice working on the business, but not necessarily in it every single hour that they're on the clock, because you got to launch something, right? So time is a crucial thing. Please don't underestimate that. Make sure you have the time allocated to work on the things that are most important to you. And the flip side of this, as a pitfall, the flip side here is when you have focused time on the things that move the needle for your goal, it will make wonders happen. You will see, like, I've been working on this thing for my 5-year goal has been a 5-year goal for the last 3 years. It just keeps moving, right? It's still my 5-year goal. I'm not any closer. Well, some of that is we're just doing the same things over and over, and we're not spending time working on those things. We're going to get to that tonight. Another one, the team. What team members do we need for that? I mentioned a DSM only practice. There's 5 to 6 key roles that exist in a full-time packed DSM only office. Well, if you don't have enough volume for 5 or 6 team members, which most don't when they start, then you're going to have 1 team member or 2 team members, and those folks are going to have to wear multiple hats. What are they? What's the role? What's the definition of the role? What's the core tasks of that role? All of that stuff. So the team is going to be a crucial component, and also one of the pitfalls. If they're not on board or they're not communicated with, Maybe they're not equipped to do this. Those are things that you got to consider in setting the goals and who's going to help you get there. The last thing is trust. That's not the last thing, actually. The third thing is trust. This is a sticky one. This is probably a curriculum of its own. The speed of trust. I forget who the author is. I'm blanking on it right now. There's a book called The Speed of Trust, and it is absolutely essential. Trust is an essential ingredient in activity of your team. If you want to delegate things to your team, you have to trust them when you delegate it. They have to trust your intent when they're being delegated to. Trust and how fast that trust occurs and the depth that it occurs to is going to be a specific measurement of how well or how successful you're going to be in that endeavor. So time, team, trust, 3 T's, and budget. That's something that often gets overlooked too. It doesn't start with a T, so it really doesn't fit on the slide. It's just not cool. This is really something. I mean, think about this, guys. If you're going to courses and you as the doctor are flying, you're flying and going home and flying and going home, or attending on Zoom and going home, and you're really frustrated with the lack of throughput in your team's energy and they're just not getting it. They're just not getting it. Maybe bring them next time. The next course that you're going to, consider allocating part of the budget to take them. Maybe that's 9 months out. That's okay. But I would consider, if something's not working, don't keep doing the same thing over and over. So 4 common pitfalls: time, the team, the trust factor, and then also the budget. All right, let me ask you, and you don't have to answer this in the chat, but I would encourage you to write this down, type it on your phone, whatever you're doing. Get it out from your head is my encouragement in whatever medium you need to. What has previously kept you from your goals? That's a big one. The second thing is, what is the number one challenge that you're going to face shooting for your future goals? So this assumes that you've got your goal down. I mean, we just covered BHAGs in like a hot minute. That's going to take some time to sit with. So if you want to double your cases, Brian, what are the things that have kept you from doing that so far? And then as you're moving ahead, we're just looking at the history to help educate us for today, so we can identify these things ahead of time, right? What is the number one thing, the first thing or the biggest thing that's going to be right in front of you in trying to double your cases? Is it on that short list? Is it time that you're dedicating? Is it time that you are allowing your team to work on it? Is it the team? Is it the budget? Is it trust? I mean, I'm also not going to ask you guys to raise your hands. How many of you are micromanagers? How many of you feel like, you know what? If I do it, at least it gets done right. Or it'll take me just as long, if not longer, to explain it to somebody on how to do it the right way and then check their work as if I just did it myself. Yeah, I get it. I think we all do on some level. But you're also going to be stuck doing the same things over and over. So I challenge you with that. If you tend to be a micromanager, your time is going to be maxed out always because you're doing everybody else's job. If there's other challenges with time, or you know what, you've spent a lot of time as the doctor, but you've been really hesitant to pull the trigger on taking your team to a course, or getting a home sleep test, or diving into a medical billing software, something, then identify that so you can address it and then move on. All right, how do we get to success? Well, let's walk the map together. The path to BHAG victory, big, hairy, audacious goal victory, is a framework called OKR, Objectives and Key Results. This framework was made famous by Google. They came up with it, they launched it, and they crushed it. And then there's other small companies like Amazon and Netflix and Disney. And for those of you music connoisseurs, Bono makes the list. These folks in these businesses, these leadership teams in these businesses that are bajillionaires now, I don't even know if that's a number. It's not. Just kidding. They've employed this framework. So why does it work? I'll tell you. It's right on the screen. It is very stupid simple. We have a giant goal that we're trying to get to. The objective is, what am I trying to accomplish that gets to that goal? This is the needle mover. Needle mover meaning like when you hit the gas, the needle goes up. This is moving your car forward, your rocket ship up, whatever. So you've got your giant BHAG goal. And then right below that, you've got key objectives, these main things of what you're trying to accomplish. This is the what. The key results are, how do you get there? Hey, how do you know that you've achieved the objective? Well, that's crucial. The third part below that is projects. We all know projects. We create projects all the time. We just don't realize it. We call them tasks. But really, if you have to do more than 2 items in a task, that's really a project, even if it's a small one. So projects are the, how do we accomplish the key result? Key results are, how do we know that we're getting to or completing the objectives? And when we are completing the objectives, we know that we are getting to our goal. That's the hierarchy. So the OKR framework, objectives, what are we trying to accomplish? Key results, that's what we're going to focus on here. How do you know you got there? I promise you guys, I'm going to land the plane before we're done tonight. I know this is like a lot of principle and theory stuff. I promise we're going to land the DSM plane here pretty quick. Okay. As an example for key objectives and key results, I shared we're a coaching company. We already got permission from one of our clients to generically share their specific objectives and key results, and some of their tools that they have access to. So I want to show you guys that tonight. This particular client, one of their biggest objectives for their DSM practice is to grow their MD referrals in 2024. Give me a raise of hands on the webinar here, if you don't mind. Tell me who wants to increase physician referrals this year. Who would align with this goal? Okay. A bunch of you, about a third of you. Okay. Awesome. So if you want to increase physician referrals, these key results, I mean, these are really complicated, y'all. We want to grow MD referrals to 10 a month in Q1, 15 a month in Q2, and by the end of the year, we're at 30. Charles, I think you were the one that said 30 a month was your goal. You can give me a thumbs up if that was you. If not, don't hate me. Yeah, this is very linear. You got to get to 10 before you get to 15. You got to get 15 before you get to 30. This is really simple, but here's where it gets sticky. What are the projects? So the things that we're actually accomplishing to achieve that key result, to show that we're getting to our objective. What are those things? Well, this is where it gets granular. This particular client, they're going to identify 10 physicians from their local patients. They're a GP office working in DSM. So they're going to identify the patients they've been treating and 10 local physicians or 10 physicians from those local patients that they're already treating. That's the first thing. That's internal. We're not talking to anybody. They're doing fact work inside the practice. Next thing, they're going to prepare their physician intro kit. We call that a folder. They've got to have a prescription form and business cards and things like that that say, hey, I'm legit. I can receive your patients. You can refer to me as a specialist. They've got to put that together because it doesn't magically appear. Next, they're going to reach out to 30 local MDs by stopping by their office. So someone on the team, doctors, someone on the team is going to get in their car when it's not -20 outside and drive around to local MD offices. They might call ahead. They might find out when the doctor is in or not, but they're going to go stop by 30 offices. The fourth thing is they're going to reach out to 30 additional MDs through patient updates, because like I said, they're already treating patients. So they've got momentum going. They've screened their own patients. They advertise. They've got patients coming out from the cold or from the wild. And so they're going to take down all the patients' physicians in that intake process and then start the outreach process. So we've got 4 specific projects. Each one of these, to be clear, has multiple tasks inside of it, right? If you just told your team right now, pardon me, if you told your team and you don't have a folder already baked, if you said to your sleep champion or your dental assistant, hey, I want you to prepare our MD intro kit. I want you to get it ready because we're going to go see 30 offices. Do they have any idea what's in that kit? Do they even know that by kit, you actually meant folder? Right? That's a big deal. So we've got to understand what we're asking them. We've got to know that they understand what we're asking of them. And frankly, if you just hand a project off to somebody without clarity on the tasks, you're typically going to be disappointed. So this does require one more layer deep on the actual tasks associated with each one of those projects. I promise we're going to land this plane. We're going to get all the way down to that. Tony, I see your question. I'm going to get to you in just a second. All right, objective number one, we can see this is a screenshot from this client software. That was a terrible transition. Let me go back. I shared with you earlier, this is an actual client who gave us permission to share their objectives and key results and all of that kind of stuff, right? So this is a software that we basically integrate for our coaching clients. So we've worked with them to populate this. This is where they're tracking their objectives and key results, that OKR framework, and all of the projects and tasks that are associated with those things. So this is the dashboard. You can see at the very top here with my mouse, you've got your main objective front and center. Then you've got your primary key results right here. When we get a little bit deeper, you click on the first key result right here. How do we get to 10 physician referrals a month? Well, here are the projects with the little clipboard here. Here's the projects that we're working on, right? This is what's in progress. That's what's front and center. This is what's on hold right now. Guys, I'm going to pause here real quick. This wasn't in my planned notes, but I'm going to tell you, if you or anyone who works with you for you has to have every single thing that they are ever working on in front of them at all times, they are by definition overwhelmed. If you try to operate like that, you're overwhelmed. If you could take, remember that focus comment that I said earlier? If you can take all the things that you need to be working on and create a cycle of when you review those projects, but only have the things that you should be working on today, this week, right in front of you, you know when you sit down with this, even if you're overwhelmed by software, hey, there's 3 projects that are active for me and my team right now, because it's the next 3 things that have to get done in order for the other stuff to get accomplished. So we don't need to know all the other stuff. We spent the time to clarify that, put it in the software. Now it goes to bed. And we only focus on 3 things. So then when we get granular on one of those projects, how do we identify 10 MDs from our local patients by this date? Great. We've got a date. We've got a number of MDs. What do? Here's all the places they're going to look to do this. Hey guys, you see the assignee over here? I'll give you a quick glimpse. EL is the staff member, the team member who's driving a lot of this data. And GM is the manager. They're the one overseeing the project. So you can clearly assign tactical roles to people that are already in your practice and do this stuff better than you anyway. And they put it into a spot that you review. So let's trade out the names. If you've got your sleep champion or your assistant or your office manager as the purple bubble here, and then you are the person overseeing this, isn't it encouraging that when you open this up, you've got one task to do and it can't be done yet? So you move on. Super clear. That's a huge piece of clarity, tremendous piece of clarity. So as we're getting big goals set up, then the key objectives that help us get to those goals, the key results under those objectives to say when we've met that. And then below that, all the projects, all the tasks that are actually the things that get assigned to people We've got clarity on this whole thing. But when you step into a software, you step into your task manager, you know exactly what you should be working on and when. Or, big one, that there's nothing for you to work on right now because your team is actively working on it so far. If you saw the first 4 tasks here, progress is 100%, and these are checked off, you know that you need to do this one, right? That's a huge thing. One more thing, and I will say this as I'm not a huge fan of software. That's not true. I love fancy software. Like some of you all like buying equipment for the practice, like shiny tools in your hand. I love a good software. And then I hate it when it punks me with like overdue things and all of that. I don't know if you guys can feel that pain. Yeah. Frankly, I don't like things that start yelling at me or the team about all the things they should be doing. Here's a couple of things that I love about this specific one. Number one, when they are in progress with something, but they haven't completed it, they can show that it's in progress. Nobody has to ask them. And doesn't take any notes. It's just a click of a button. Hey, I'm actively working on this. Not done. Don't ask. If you want to ask, there's actually a chat feature in there, but I'm working on it. When I get it done, I can click the button and this progress meter goes to 100%. But you know what this one does? It goes to 20 because there's 5 tasks in this project, each representing 20% of the project. So I see a progress meter on each project under each key result under the overall objective. And as you go up in that hierarchy, you might have 2 or 3 objectives with a couple of key results and several projects, especially if you're working on this full time. This can really grow robust. I mean, think about how Amazon uses this. How many things does Amazon sell? How many things does Google sell and develop? This is incredibly robust, but it can be very narrow and simple. But just knowing what you need to do, when you need to do it, and who's working on what, incredibly clarifying. So somebody asked, I'm going to get a couple of these questions because I just realized you guys asked. The app software of this task list, this is actually something that we've custom built and we've put a software, we've customized a software that we actually give as part of our coaching program to our coaching clients. So that's the short answer. If you want more context on the software, you want a demo of that, I'd be happy to schedule one of those for you. We're not a software company, to be clear, but this is something that is incredibly invaluable to folks that have retained us for coaching. I mean, that's the short answer. So we want them to do more, get better, have their team get clarity. That's a win for everybody. So it's been incredibly beneficial. Tony, you asked, are all the BHAGs goals, et cetera, applicable with cash versus insurance driven? That's a fantastic question. The answer is yes. So a BHAG doesn't necessarily have anything to do with cash or insurance. Doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with dental sleep medicine. That's the frame of reference we're coming with because that's the only type of client that we work with. This is our space and you're our community that we're trying to serve. So we're focusing big principles on dental sleep medicine. The truth is, if you were trying to grow your fee-for-service audience inside of your DSM practice, that's the type of patient that you're trying to grow, you could have a specific objective for that with several key results that help show you how you've gotten there. And then each one of those has its own projects that you're going after. I'll give you another example, just kind of ad hoc to hopefully answer that question a little bit more, Tony. Let's say you want to get contracted with the VA. You love what our veterans have done for us. You know that there's a local VA that has a lot of people that get CPAPs in your region, and you want to help serve those folks that can't use CPAP, which is a lot of them. Super noble endeavor. The VA also has a great reimbursement rate for you all. So if your goal is to become contracted with and gain access to VA patients to serve the veteran community, fantastic. That's your objective. Your key results to get you there are, I'm contracted with the VA. I've received referrals from the VA. We've received reimbursement on 5 cases from the VA, specific linear key results. Well, those key results all have different projects, right? The first one, to get contracted, you'd actually need to reach out to the VA, find the department that you contract with. Maybe you're going to hire a service. Do you spend a lot of money working with a separate company who has a corporate VA contract that you can just be a part of? You got to figure all that out. That's just the contracted part. And then how to get referrals. We got to knock on doors. You got to introduce yourself to the sleep doctor. You got to probably send a letter and a referral form. Make sure that's in the system for the coordinator who sends referrals off site. I'm just rattling this off, guys. The third thing, you're going to get reimbursed. Well, that's the billing process. So now you've done the intake and got referrals. You treated the patient, had good clinical outcomes, sent that in for reimbursement. Now you've got your actual checks. Those are the things that we're talking about. So objective is get contracted and start treating VA patients. Those are the 3 key results. The projects sync underneath of those, and then you get task level and you start to assign it to your team so you're all working on it together. All right, Tony, I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, I'm sure you will raise a riot later. I love you to death for that, actually. Okay, wrapping it up, and then I'm going to open it up for questions towards the end here. What are the 3 things that we need to ask ourselves to stay in line with our purpose, to stay in line with our BHAG? The first thing is, where are your goals? Like, where do they exist? What direction am I shooting in? What direction am I driving in? The last thing you want to do is make a wrong turn right out of the gate, because then you got to make a U-turn and figure it all out. So where are the goals? What are they? If you haven't set a BHAG or a couple of those, what is that aligning place that you want to go? Second, what are the pitfalls? We talked about common ones, but that's not the only ones. Time, team, trust, and budget. Those are the 4 we talked about. Are there others? I mean, do you have self-limiting beliefs that are really holding you back because you just don't believe that you could really pull this off? You're going to kind of try and go to a lot of courses, but you just don't believe this is for you. Guys, I got to tell you, if it was your daughter turning blue as an infant, you wouldn't care if somebody thought they could do it. You just want help. If it was your dad who served in Vietnam, who couldn't wear a CPAP because it reminded him of the plane that he went down in that was on fire and the mask he was wearing, like, I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but at some point, the folks that we need to help just matter. So I'd encourage you, please pull back from the self-limiting beliefs. That should probably be on the slide under budget because it's not a T either. You can do it. You absolutely can do it. And I'm not saying that to sell you anything. I'm not saying that to sell you hope. The truth is, you can do this. It just takes effort. It just takes some time. It just takes some determination. You can absolutely do it. And there's plenty of great folks, us in that list, but there's plenty of folks out there, plenty of great speakers. You're not the first one to try this. Get after it and do it. You can do it. The last thing, what are the solutions to the things you're going to fight? What are the solutions? What are the workarounds? Maybe you can just avoid the pitfall altogether. Maybe you can sit down with your team and identify who your sleep champion is because you know you're too busy. And you're going to dedicate the time, resources, and trust into that person because you trust them already and they can do this. Maybe that's your answer. So goals, challenges, and then how to overcome those. That last one is the crucial part to not get stuck. You can do goals and challenges, you'll be stuck. Focus on what you can do next and who can help you do it. That's a great way to start. All right, 3 questions I want you to ask yourself. Take a picture, write it down. You're not going to be able to answer it tonight is my guess. But your BHAGs, what's your 1, 2, and 5 year BHAG? I forget who said it, but somebody important and very intelligent, smarter than your speaker tonight, said that we grossly overestimate what we can do in 1 year and grossly underestimate what we can do in 10. So if you had a 5-year goal, if you had a 1-year goal, do you feel constantly like you're just not getting it? Well, maybe we're trying to do too much in that 1 year. What we really need to do is focus on the longer term, push it out to 5. Maybe that's 10 for you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe your 10-year goal is to retire. Sweet. What do you want to do between now and then? Is it more sleep? Is it only sleep? Like, all of those questions start to help really clarify that for you. So 1, 2, 5-year goals, maybe you push it out to 10 if you want to. Second thing, what are your T's? What are the challenges? I gave you the short list, like I said, but there's others. So what's on your list, not mine? What's not everybody else's, but yours? So what are the challenges you'll face? This is a big one. The challenges that you're going to face when launching into your new goal that you've set. I've identified the goal. I'm singular focus. It's achievable. It's inspiring, all the things. And now I've got all these challenges that are going to work against me. And I'm plotting, how do I get around those? That's all set. Those challenges, when you launch into this, are radically different than when you're your first year in. Your first year is done and now you're continuing on. What's the difference there? What about your second year? What about the 5th year? So if we're on this giant journey, I mean, launching the rocket to just get out of the Earth's atmosphere is the first challenge, right? But then it's got to go where it wants to go and where it needs to go, not where it wants to go, pardon me. When it gets there, everybody on it, if there's people on it, it's got to be safe. If it's not, let's say it's a SpaceX rocket, we're going to launch that in the atmosphere. First issue is get out of the Earth's atmosphere. Second, now we're in space, we got to go exactly where we're supposed to go. Third is we need to come back to the Earth. Fourth is don't kill anybody when we land. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you know that SpaceX, if their rockets are 3 degrees off in variation, will land in a different solar system? Bonkers. Clarity is a big deal. What are your T's? What are your challenges? Last thing is, how do you get around those? Maybe this is something that you need to lean into your team for, or your spouse, or your business coach, or your fill in the blank. A lot of times, getting multiple perspectives on something like this is a crucial component to having a clear map. I would not shortchange this. This is your unstuck question. If you ever feel stuck on your goals and your challenges, your progress, etc., this is your unstuck question. What things, what people, what stuff, what do we need to do in order to overcome whatever we're struggling with? That's a great question, and it usually needs multiple different perspectives to have a cohesive answer to move forward. So this is the one where I'd encourage you on question 1 and 2, sit by yourself, take the time, allow yourself to breathe, write that stuff down, type it, whatever you do. And then as you've identified those challenges, bring it to others that are in your circle so they can give you that perspective and hopefully help you overcome and see some of those challenges and ways around them. All right. I cannot see you, but if you close your eyes and you thought, whatever your goal is, Charles, I'm going to use yours. My sleep practice for the last 6 months running has done 30 cases a month. How does that feel? Tony, your good friend out of Nashville. You've launched your sleep practice. You have consistent patients, reimbursement, great raving fan physicians that refer to you every single month. How does that feel? This starts to sound like a Hallmark commercial, people. I get it. But that emotion that goes with it matters. It does. Because ultimately, like, these are businesses that require profit, like blood to the body. Remember, it's life to the business. I get it. But money doesn't buy everything, but it buys some things. Sure. Maybe it's freedom from the hand piece. Maybe it's the ability to go teach, like Simi said earlier, right? Whatever your goal, it's going to help. That's the thing. When you've gotten to that spot, what does that feel like? I'd encourage you, write those words down. Like, it feels awesome, accomplished. The words of struggle and stuck are not on that list. because you got there. That's the goal. We want to get there. And the very cool thing to me is that we get to, in our specific space, you're not selling typewriters or paper clips. You're actually legit helping people that are suffering, not sleeping. They're dying in their sleep. And we're trying to get them to the next step to like help them posture their airway forward and oxygenate properly, which has systemic health impact and benefits. This is awesome. So the better we do in our practice, the more we are engaging and helping our community. I mean, you guys, I mentioned veterans earlier. They've done so much for our country. Holy cow, we can start to help those folks. And the byproduct of that is that it helps your business. That's amazing. This is a really cool path to get to the place that we're trying to go. So that for me, that's what makes it worth it to me. You're going to help the Annas that I would never meet. That's my daughter who had apnea. You're going to meet the people that we just never get to see because they're your people. But that's why these webinars matter. That's why this stuff matters. That's why we're so passionate about it. And I say I'll own it. This is me. This is my heartbeat. This is why it matters to me. And it's a big deal because those folks matter. All right. This is the least produced slide of the night. If you want, we don't ever do this. But I like breaking things, and this just matters to me. If you want a personalized coaching session with me specifically, not our coaching team, which are all amazing, and they're fully equipped to help you guys with this. The OKR framework, goal setting, all that stuff, they're amazing. If for some reason I resonated with you tonight on this topic and you want to talk to me, please email me. That's my email. I will be the one that answers. I will send you a link to my personal calendar so we can set up a 30-minute call, and I'd be happy to review your goals, your challenges, anything that you don't have to be a coaching client. We'll sit on a call together and I'll help you review your goals, your path, give you some insights, totally free, no strings attached, because it just matters. If for some reason my voice is like nails on a chalkboard and you absolutely can't stand any more of this, you can use this link or that QR code and you can talk to somebody else on our coaching team. I'm not offended. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. A few people, my wife most especially, I'm glad that she still likes my tea. But yeah, if you want to talk to a coach on our team, you can use that link. And if you want to know more about medical billing, since we are wrapping up the hour here, our next webinar in February is going to be on the 13th. It's got these lovely folks here. I have to tell you, medical billers who know their junk, who get paid, who know all of the forms and the details and the nuances to get you paid, they're like the secret superstars. And only one of those people on there had a professional headshot for us because they are the secret superstars. We love them to death. They're going to be on a panel next month. If you want to tune in for that, you can scan the QR code or hit the link. And it's either one of those. Next webinar or talk to a coach. If you want me or you want to connect with me one-on-one, the email is the way to do that. Chad, if you don't mind, throw the email in the chat. Wow, that was a lot. The CE links are in the chat. Boom shakalaka. And my email's there too. The CE links are there. If you click on the link, you can get your CE certificate after you fill out the survey, of course. The other thing is if you want to schedule a coaching call, and all other stuff is in there as well for the next webinar. I appreciate y'all. You all stayed the whole time. That means my voice isn't like nails on a chalkboard to at least some of you. Maybe I'm muted and you turned it off to get a CE. I don't know. So any more questions, anything that we can help out with that might be helpful for the group? Any questions on goal setting, team struggles? Everybody has those, to be clear. It's just usually, are we willing to ask the questions? No. Oh, okay. My bad. Here we go. NADSM. Stacy, thank you for asking. I am not going to be at NADSM this year. We were last year. Love that event. It happened to be on another event, same date, and I am emceeing the team track at the Transform Dental Sleep Conference in Scottsdale. Yeah, thank you for asking. If you want to connect, you can email me. The other one that I missed earlier is when we have challenges with the team. I'm going to try to remember it because I saw it earlier in the Q&A. We have challenges with the team. How do you communicate the projects and the tasks? I think is how it was asked about how do you communicate with them if there's already challenges. My encouragement with projects and tasks and communication is that we have to be abundantly clear with the communication. And what I mean by that is if you are struggling with your team's not getting it, that whole not getting it thing, or they just won't get their act together, or I hand them things and they just won't get it done, I'd encourage you to start by asking questions. If there's people that are struggling, if they're dedicated to working in your practice elsewhere, and they're not always dropping the ball, but with sleep, this one always gets dropped, I'd really lean into asking for questions. Hey, what is the issue? What's the challenge? What are the things that you guys need in order? What do you feel like we need as a team? That's probably a better way to ask it. In order to fill in the blank. What's the key result or the objective that you're trying to achieve? Is that part even clear? Do they know what the goal is? If they know the goal and the objectives and the path to get there, then it's really just a matter of what tasks am I supposed to be doing in that endeavor? And do I know that they're mine? Are they clearly assigned? When do I have to get them done by? And do I have the training and the understanding to do them? Those are the big things. So if you're dealing with team struggles and you're trying to manage projects and tasks and like all of this stuff, I'd really look for some type of clarity. One other thing I can tell you software wise, those screenshots I shared earlier with you, that has really helped our team and our coaching folks teams to just get in sync when they can see what everybody's working on and what they don't have to work on and their progress towards it. It's been incredibly helpful. So I hope that answers the question. Jamie, thank you so much for the compliments. And oh no, that's not the compliments. You're going to be in Scottsdale too. Sweet. If anybody's coming to Scottsdale, you should really come by booth 13 because we're going to auction off. Auction's the wrong word. That means you're selling something. Raffle. There we go. We are raffling off a MacBook Air. No strings attached. You don't have to be a client. You just have to physically be on site. So if you're there, booth 13, you can just write your name down, enter to register. Wow, it's been a night. Y'all, thanks for this. Thanks for your time. I think we are done with questions. So I'm going to ask Bruce Lucky 13. Yes, absolutely. All right. We'll see you all in Scottsdale. If you're going to NADSM, tell our friends out there we said hello. Other than that, if you want to hang out with me, shoot me an email. I'll get back to you. Other than that, have a great night, everybody. We appreciate you and what you do. Keep trucking.